Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving deep into Don Miguel Ruiz's profound Toltec wisdom from his book, The Four Agreements. Look, if you're ready to fundamentally shift how you experience the world and honestly reclaim your own personal power, you are exactly in the right place. Let's just jump right in, shall we? So, Ruiz actually subtitles this work A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom. And he literally means that. He argues that right now we are all kind of living in this dream of hell, just totally filled with unnecessary suffering, anxiety, and nonstop drama. But by shifting our paradigm through four really simple yet deeply profound agreements, we can completely rewrite our reality. We can essentially create a dream of heaven right here on Earth. But before we even get to those agreements, I want you to consider something. Why do we judge ourselves so harshly? Seriously, take a second and think about it. Ruiz points out this really tragic truth. Nobody abuses us more than we abuse ourselves. We hold ourselves to these absolutely impossible, fear-based rules, and then we just constantly punish ourselves when we inevitably fall short. But where did those rules even come from in the first place? Well, we're actually victims of what Ruiz calls the domestication of humans. It sounds intense, right? But think about it. Just like we train a dog with a treat for sitting or, a scolding for barking, society trained us. As kids, we got rewards when we did what mom, dad, or our teachers wanted, and we got punished when we didn't. Over time, we were essentially tamed into accepting this massive, invisible rulebook of beliefs that aren't even really ours. We've got to recognize that the way we react, the way we judge, and the fears we carry are largely just the result of this early social conditioning. So here is our game plan for today. First, the human domestication process. Second, Agreement 1, be impeccable. Third, Agreement 2, nothing is personal. Fourth, Agreement 3, stop making assumptions. Fifth, Agreement 4, do your best. And finally, the step-by-step process for breaking free. Section 1, the human domestication process, understanding our conditioning. Section 2, Agreement 1, be impeccable, the most difficult yet absolutely most important agreement. Ruiz is completely uncompromising about this first agreement. He says it's the hardest to honor, for sure, but it is so deeply important that with this one habit alone, you can transcend to that level of existence he calls heaven on earth. Now, when we hear the word impeccable, we usually just think it means being perfect, right? But if you look at the Latin root, peccatus means sin, and means without. So to be impeccable literally means to be without sin. But here's the kicker. Ruiz completely redefines sin. A sin isn't some cosmic checklist. It's literally anything you do that goes against yourself. So when you judge or blame yourself, you're sinning against yourself. Being impeccable means you completely, 100% stop that self-abuse. So what does practicing this actually look like? Well, it means we stop indulging in all that guilt and shame. It also means we stop using our words against other people. No more complaining, no more gossiping, what Tibetan monks would call useless talk, that honestly just drains our energy. And crucially, it's about your commitments. Be honest with yourself here. Do you actually honor your commitments, or do you just say yes to please people, fully knowing you're going to flake later? To be truly impeccable, you should only make commitments you fully, absolutely intend to keep. Section 3, Agreement 2, nothing is personal, avoiding the trap of others' opinions. This is a recurring theme among some of the greatest philosophers in history, from Marcus Aurelius all the way to modern thinkers. The core mantra you absolutely need to internalize here is that nothing other people do is because of you. It is always, entirely, 100% because of themselves. Just imagine interacting with the exact same person on two totally different days. On day one, let's say they just won the lottery and slept for 9 hours. They're going to treat you wonderfully, right? But on day two, they lost their job, they haven't eaten, and they barely slept. They might snap at you or treat you terribly. But notice this, you didn't change at all in this scenario. The reaction to you is entirely based on their own internal reality. If you base your self-worth on how they react, you are walking right into a massive trap. Section 4, Agreement 3, stop making assumptions, preventing unnecessary drama. Okay, we all have this incredibly dangerous tendency to make assumptions about what other people are thinking or doing. And the fatal flaw here is that we truly, deeply believe our assumptions are the absolute truth. Believing an unchecked assumption is literally like drinking emotional poison. Beware the drama of Assumptionville. Here's the crazy cycle we all fall into. We make an assumption, we totally misunderstand the situation, we take it personally, and then we react by sending out our own emotional poison. We end up causing a massive destructive amount of drama for absolutely nothing. Thankfully, the cure for this is refreshingly straightforward. Step 1. You need to have the courage to ask questions. Seriously, just stop guessing. Step 2. Ensure the communication is crystal clear on both sides. And step 3. If you still don't understand, you just have to swallow your pride and ask again. This simple little communication loop completely short-circuits that toxic assumption habit. Section 5. Agreement 4. Do your best. The action that makes the first 3 possible. If the first 3 agreements are the blueprint, this 4th agreement is the daily hammer and nails that deeply, permanently ingrains these new habits into your life. Ruiz says, under any circumstance, always do your best. No more and no less. But keep in mind that your best is never going to be the same from one moment to the next. I mean, how freeing is that? Your best naturally fluctuates. If you're well-rested and fully energized, your best is going to be absolutely stellar. But if you're exhausted or maybe fighting off a cold, your best is going to look a lot different. And you know what? That is perfectly okay. No guilt, no self-abuse. Just give whatever you have in that specific moment. This actually connects directly to the ancient Greek concept of arete, which loosely translates to striving for excellence from moment to moment. Think about it like this. When there's a gap between what you know your highest self is capable of and what you're actually doing, well, that gap is exactly where anxiety, disillusionment, and depression just kind of hang out. Closing that gap by simply doing your best leaves absolutely no room for that negative angst. And this builds perfectly into what Tony Robbins calls CANI, which stands for constant and never-ending improvement. When we show up, fully committed to doing our best every single day, without constantly judging ourselves for the natural fluctuations, we create this incredible upward trend. Basically, our baseline best just keeps getting better and better over time. And honestly, we can't talk about constant improvement without mentioning Kaizen. This Japanese concept proves that you really don't need to take massive, overwhelming leaps to transform your life. In fact, the absolute most effective way to overcome your brain's natural resistance to change is slow and steady. Just small, consistent baby steps. Section 6. Breaking free. Step by step. Putting the wisdom into practice. Now, understanding these 4 agreements intellectually is one thing. But how do we actually go about dismantling years and years of societal domestication? Well, when we bring all these big ideas together, from understanding our domestication to applying the 4 agreements, we see that achieving personal freedom isn't some mystical secret. It's actually a completely achievable, everyday practice. So let's break down your actionable steps to freedom. First up is awareness. I mean, you can't fix a problem you don't even see, right? You have to shine a bright, honest light on your own negative self-talk. Second is patience. Your current mindset is the result of literally decades of conditioning. You are not going to rewire it overnight. Think about the Chinese bamboo tree. It grows completely underground for 7 years before suddenly shooting up 13 feet in a single week. You have to give yourself that same grace period. And third, repetition. Just like Aristotle said, excellence is a habit. You master these new agreements by practicing them over and over and over again. I want to leave you with one final provocative question to think about. Which fear-based agreement will you break today to reclaim your personal power? Seriously, don't wait for tomorrow. Pick just one assumption to drop, one piece of negative self-talk to silence, or one situation where you absolutely refuse to take it personally, and do it right now. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep doing your best, keep stepping out of that domestication trap, and I will see you next time.